All right. Yeah. So if you don't mind just introducing yourself to kick this off, I would appreciate that. And we'll kind of just jump into your story, your background. And thanks again for willing to do this.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me. My name is Joe. I've been a business owner for over 11 years, and fairly successful. But I wanted something that was going to give me some security in the future. And I've been, after 11 years, and I knew that I didn't really have a retirement plan. I had spoken to a few different people who decided to do FBA on Amazon, and it was something that I did my own little bit of research. Started out with the simple little YouTube videos, like most people, and from there I found a few paid courses, and then I eventually found Tom, and we actually chatted a few times before I really connected, and I found his course, and it's really helped my business really take off. It's been over a year and a half for me now, and only in the last few months since I've taken Tom's accelerator course that I've really seen my sales starting to take off, and I really attribute that to your course, Tom, and what I've picked up from it.
I appreciate that. So let me ask you this, when you were looking at what business model to start, right? So it sounds like you've been a business owner for 11 years, but then you were looking in the e-com space because you wanted something that you could do, geographically independent and from wherever, and kind of have something in theory that runs on autopilot in the background once you have it established, right? So what made you gravitate towards Amazon FBA instead of Shopify drop shipping, flipping stuff on eBay, something different? Did you look at other e-com models, or did you just kind of start with Amazon and stick with Amazon?
I originally thought, I think I always thought e-commerce because I thought it was something I could do at home. But I originally thought I'd be able to focus on my own choice of products, what I thought was going to sell. I really thought that, I'm in this particular business right now. I know what sells for me, and I'm going to push that kind of product. And then, with the research and with the courses, I learned that that's not how it works. It's about finding something that works. And learning how to sell it better than somebody else.
Sure. So giving the marketplace what they want versus what you personally interpret as something you'd want. Yeah. And that's a huge thing. And I think when people are starting out, especially doing product research, you're going to gravitate towards things you're interested in or things that you find appealing. When really at the end of the day, it's really what the market wants and where the demand is. And we can come in and compete exactly like you're talking about. So what has been kind of your biggest roadblock that you've hit so far in your Amazon journey, or maybe your top three, either one?
Oh, sure. So learning PPC. Learning PPC has always been something I struggled with early on. Learning about negative exacting, learning about broad versus phrase, learning basically from zero to where I am now. That has taken a lot of time. It was a real learning curve doing that, and that was probably the first thing. That was the biggest challenge for me.
Yeah.
The next challenge was not overspending. It was easy to get into it, and starting to throw money. Every course that you see or every YouTube video is telling you got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to take this class, you've got to use this software. There are 1,000 different softwares that are going to help you with this, and you don't need them all.
Right.
You don't need them all. You need maybe 2 or 3 good softwares. One of them, I think, is Jungle Scout. That's an absolute must.
I agree.
Am I allowed to plug different software?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
I think Jungle Scout is number 1. Number 2, probably Helium 10. With those two softwares and your Chrome extension, you can do everything. You can do everything you really need. There are going to be some smaller things, possibly for email content and things like that. But if you have those 2 things and a good mentor, you can do so much.
Absolutely. So when it came down to finding your first product, how long did that take you? What was like the trial and tribulation? What did you learn in that experience? Because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, right? So people get interested in this business model, and through being interested, they start, kind of sifting through things. They might have an overall broad view of how the whole model works, but then people want to dive into product research, right? Because that's kind of your first step. And, I would argue that's the foundation of your entire business. But for most people, I think that's where they also hit that roadblock. Like we were talking about, whether it's emotional or whether it's, not having the right skill set or like the right tools. And I would say the same thing about softwares, right? I think it doesn't really matter which software you use. I would agree with you on your top two choices. And as you know, that's what I use. But with that being said, once you have the right skill set, it's kind of like driving stick shift. If you can drive stick shift, you can drive any vehicle that has that, right? It's the exact same thing with Amazon FBA, I'd argue. But when you were doing product research, what do you recall about that experience? And I know that you've launched additional products now, so has it become easier for you? Or kind of walk me through your thought process on that.
Yeah, I don't know if I could say it's become easier, but there is definitely a process that you learn along the way. At the very beginning, I had my heart set on my own products that I thought were going to do really well, and I did not invest any money in that. I was smart enough to figure that out. The first product that I chose, I used Jungle Scout, and I did a lot of sifting and narrowing down, and I made myself a list of 10 different possibilities, and narrowed them down from there. I'd say it took me maybe about a month before I narrowed it down to my first product. When I did get my first product, I did make the mistake of choosing something that's on the competitive side. It was definitely a little more on the competitive side. It is a market niche that sells a lot, but on the competitive side. So it's taken me maybe a little bit more time to gain ground. Now I am in the market, and I have found my niche, and I have got those reviews. I worked hard at getting good reviews. The few beginning reviews are the hardest part, and do not beat yourself up about it. You're going to get those reviews. It's patience. If I've learned anything in this, it is patience. Patience is key. Don't think you're going to get it all today. Don't think that first product you're going to get is going to be that $50,000 a month product, because it's not going to happen. But I know for myself, my first product ended up panning out. And I stuck to it. Now I've got variations of that product, and I'm moving on to my third and fourth product now.
Yeah, and that's awesome. That's a great way to scale. And as you were saying too, I mean, with kind of going into this, your actual marketplace might have been more competitive. And I know there's a lot of hype on people talk about markets being saturated. I don't think anything's truly saturated. I think it's just the amount of capital, amount of time it takes to actually penetrate that is different, right? But now you're reaping the rewards of going into that marketplace, right? So you kind of went against the grain of what a lot of people talk about, but now you're seeing the actual flip side and getting the results that you were looking for. So if you were just starting over, I mean, what would you have done differently today? So you've been doing this a year and a half. You're launching your third and fourth, variation of your product. You're in a great spot. If someone was just starting out, what would you recommend for them?
Wow. I would filter out the noise, number one. I would learn to be a little more focused and choose my mentoring, and maybe get more of my information from the best source. It's hard when you're starting out and you're trying to figure out who to listen to. But finding you, that has made all the difference in the world to me. Starting out, I would say focus. You need to work on this every day.
Yep.
Be mindful of your spending. Be mindful of your spending. Keep everything. If you're someone who uses spreadsheets, keep it all in your spreadsheets. Keep it very organized.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. If I would have started over again, I would have been a little more organized and not just jumping around quite so much. I would have focused and not been afraid to also find another product and then just go for it, because there are so many opportunities out there, and Amazon is not saturated. It is absolutely not. Something that's saturated is not growing by, to double, triple, quadruple every single year from the 2000s to now. It's still growing, and it's exponential. That's not a saturated market. That's a market that is growing.
No, I absolutely agree. And it's been an honor working with you. And honestly, at the end of the day, as you know, I'll never take credit for anything that you've done. I've shown you how to do it, but you know what? At the same time, you're the one who went out and executed on it. So that is completely you.
I still say it. He's Tom the Bomb. That's the man. He's done so much for me and so much for others. He's great to work with.
Yeah. So where do you, what does your future look like in the next, year or two? Like, what is your game plan? What are you hoping to do with this? Yeah, take it from there.
I'm hoping that at some point in time, I haven't really narrowed down a time that I could actually sell the brand.
Sure.
I would like to make a good brand, focus on products that can work together. They one product helps you buy the other product. I think in the next couple of years I want to see some more growth. I would like to hire a couple of assistants, maybe trainees, maybe possibly my kids, because they see it and they know there's money to be made, and I'll tell you they're a lot more tech savvy than I am.
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to take them on, and maybe I can retire in their mansions someday.
Yeah.
So retirement is now in the future. I could see it coming, where before this it just was not in the cards. So
absolutely,
I think ultimately retirement would be nice someday.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's everybody's goal eventually, but that's nice. I'm glad to hear that that's kind of coming together for you. So hitting on the tech savvy part, I mean, is this a business model that you feel most people could enter into as long as they have kind of that dedication and commitment to be consistent, spend a little bit of time every day doing it? Like, do you feel from a technical aspect, is it really that challenging, or is it more so learning and adapting different models and your actual skill sets in this business model?
I was someone who couldn't properly manipulate a spreadsheet a year and a half ago. What my full-time job is.
Yeah.
It's not on a computer. No, I would say if you can navigate a Chrome browser and do your basic math, learn how to learn spreadsheets and that. No, you can do this.
Okay.
Definitely. The skill set is minimal.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So, in one last question, if you mind answering for me. So, what this month so far, on this Monday, what are your sales so far?
My sales today, my phone is I'm actually looking at my phone.
Okay.
Today I sold 20 units today, but yesterday I sold 65 units, and I was $1,700 yesterday for the day. I just passed by my $27,000 a month number, and this is the first for me.
All right. Strong start to 2020 then, right?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you again for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it. And it's been great working with you, and looking forward to see what you do moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom.
All right. Thanks, Joe.